Thank you very much. And at this note, I want to welcome every one of us to the last special edition for the month of January. I have to state this that if you are just joining us, we've had 4 consecutive programs for the month of January, speaking to the topic of the annual tax filing return with subnational, the compliance, and the associated benefit, knowing fully well that by tomorrow, statutorily, annual filing is expected to have come up, and we've decided to educate our members and non-members who are actually businessmen to have understanding of the processes that they need to actually carry out. And I have this to tell you that we are having the last edition. Special appreciation to the 16th president of our great institute and the member of the governing council for giving us this opportunity to actually educate, enlighten our members on contemporary things that they need to do, knowing fully well that this particular topic is germane so that everybody can actually plug in. And I can tell you that we've engaged in the month the executive chairman of the Lagos State Internal Revenue Service, Dr. Subar. We've also brought in a practitioner from the Big Four, Toluwa Logo Odutaya. We've also engaged from the North, Dr. Saad. And today, we want to crown it up by having in our midst the executive chairman of Plateau State Internal Revenue Service. Please join me as I welcome Dr. Jim Pam Wires, FCTI. Good morning, Dr. Wires. I'm glad to have you in our program today.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Olu. Thank you for having me. Good morning, our participants. Thank you for this time. So, I think we're spending the next 1 hour together. So,
yeah, the next 1 hour we're going to hit the train together, and we'll have enlightenment on the topic of our discuss, which is annual tax filing return with subnational, the compliance and associated benefit. Like I said, we've had some executive chairman come talk to us, but we feel we should have it also from that region for our members to have understanding of it. And I want to start like this, Dr. Wires, by saying, can you give us an overview of tax filing procedure and the current compliance rate among business and individual for annual tax filing return in Plateau State, and by extension to other subnational in your region? Is there a digital tax filing system in place to enhance the revenue generation in your state?
Okay, so thank you very much. This is a loaded question. So let me start by trying to break it down a bit. So a bit of an overview of the annual filing. Now, so it's expected that businesses are expected to file annual returns only once in a financial year. So usually the annual returns are usually filed on preceding year basis. So as a tax people, you know what a preceding year basis is. So it means that for that of last year, you file it this year and tell us for the current year in your form. Now, so the law, or rather, Peter had made it very clear that tax reform returns should take certain forms. So let me start from the employer. That's I'm talking about a corporate entity or an organization. Now, for the employer, it's expected that the employer should file in that tax form using what form H1. And so that return usually you sign it on or before 31st, which is now deadline tomorrow. So all business entities are supposed to file in on or before. And what are they expected to file in the from H1? The form H1 has just a little documents that you need to file in. We talked about your annual payroll for your staff, determining kind of gross, then the tax paid, and that is on preceding year basis. Then you tell us on the current year, this is the projected amount of your payroll, and this is how many tax you are supposed to pay or remit as payee for that given period. Then the other job is that of the individual. Now, for the individual, it is expected that if that will file in their annual return on or before 31st March. I don't know, is that 1st or 30th March now? 31st March, I guess. So theirs has 3 months period. And they are expected to use what we call the Form A. And the Form A form have just basically your return, your gross income, your return. And I said it's based on preceding year. So that will be for every year your filing dates to close at 31st of that given year. Now, you see, at the subnational level, we are only basically dealing with issues of taxes that concerns individual. For that of corporate entity is that of the Federal Inland Revenue Service. And so for us, the corporate entity only files for their employees, which is now they tell us what the employees do. So that one I talked about it from H1, which they are expected to submit. Now, there are institutions that are fully online that you can file in their tax returns. That's I'm talking about subnationals, including FCT. So start their tax returns online. Some are partly online, then some are. But let me speak for my state, which is Plateau State. For ours, it's completely automated. If you want it to, but you have two options. Either you choose the online with filing of returns, or you choose to do the physical. But whichever way, all the data will be married and uploaded to our server or to our portal, which is our tax portal that we use at the state revenue board. So we are kind of fully automated. So and for us at Just, we do a lot of issues around compliance. But let me be frank to you that compliance level, even at national level, is very low, particularly when we're talking about individuals. And the reason for me, I think, is because we still, as a country, have not been deliberate in terms of having all our data matched to at least one identity. Today we are talking about, I remember in the past we were talking about the unification of team. We still don't have a unified team. I think the team project that was championed by FRS Police is the pilot B. Later on there was a joint task force team. Now, but then on different clients at different subnationals, all of us have individual tax identification number. So these are some of our teaching issues that compliance has become very difficult. Then again, we have the issue of our people that don't trust in those in leadership. There's trust deficit. They feel, why should I even pay tax? So let me tell you one of the comments I like lately, that the citizens feel paying tax is a fine, not a civic responsibility. And as long as Nigeria will still look at paying tax as a fine, not a civic responsibility, our compliance level will still be too low.
A very beautiful way to commence the program, Dr. Wires, by giving us the current position of the Plateau State Internal Revenue Service, saying it is automated. Well, as we heard that from the northern region, we heard even from Lagos. Lagos is fully automated, but even from the north, we have seen that there is still room for the physical appearance that will later be integrated, by your staff at the HQ, which you have alluded to, at least for people to have that deeper understanding of it. But I want to ask this question. The automation process you just mentioned for Plateau State Internal Revenue Service, can you say it's user-friendly, or there are itches that is actually not encouraging the citizen of your state to actually go full-blown in complying with using the platform that you are providing?
So for us in Just, I don't think I've had complaint over the last 2 years that there are challenges in filing of returns. We might have other some peculiar challenges, but let me be specific of of the topic of discussion now, which is we're focusing on annual return. For the annual returns, we had no issue of challenges of return because all our applications are launched on the Amazon software, which we call AWS, Amazon Web Services. So they are fully online real time, 24/7, if I'm allowed to say that. Now, aside that, I know some states have a way of marrying the data with some of the authorities. We had a lot of issues or challenges of marrying such data. And the reason is that once you go for instance, we have a mandatory field now in applications that you must provide your name. Now, but we don't have an interface, or let me say API, that will interfere with the NIS. Yeah, so we still have that challenge. and so we cannot validate name. So what we collect the name as the where, and we have it there. So again, you see, the issue of compliance has to do with, at one point, you have to make the process friendly, then at another point, you have to be strict to make sure that you bring everybody to the tax net. So in as much as there's a user friendly, but there are some other background check that the service has to do. That are we sure that if you are coming to submit your returns, are you submitting the right return? If you are submitting the right return, what was your preceding year return? So for those ones that are all taxpayers, we have all their data. So once you fill in, you just need some few required fields, you pop up, you populate everything for you. Now, but for those ones that are coming for the first time, then it requires a little bit of due diligence. Sometimes you even have an attached form that you kindly fill the form and upload. So like I talked about earlier, the form H1 and form A2. So those forms, we have them in an e-format where you can just fill in the fields and upload to us. Then we do the population. But subsequently, if you are coming, it populates by itself. So there's a bit of user friendly. Then again, beside our link, there is a guide. And of course, the process is just click, move, fill, and it's so user friendly to the point that not only that it helps us to gather data, it helps for some of the kind of analysis. Of course, you know now we have to use technology to analyze some of these things. So, so we are ranking on, or rather, we are hosting on, relying heavily on artificial intelligence to do some of this calculation for our non-filers, non-return filers, and so many other things like that.
Brilliant submission. When you make the system user-friendly, what you have achieved is that you are encouraging the participation of the citizen to do what is expected of them at the right time without any excuse. If I should go by your words, you said it at the introductory part that compliance has been a thing that is a bit difficult. Saying the citizen that paying of taxes is more of fine and not of an obligation that is expected of them. I want to ask, sir, are there plans to enhance taxpayer education or awareness campaign to increase the compliance level in your state? If there are, can you please shed light on some of the plans that you have to educate people, knowing fully well it's across the nation that there is this trust gap. People pay taxes expecting that there should be social contract to be fulfilled by the government, but it's not being done, they are still being done by themselves. What are your plans to actually educate the taxpayers and create more awareness to increase the compliance rate and reduce the trust gap that we already have?
Okay, so thank you very much. So the first thing we try to do as management of the Plateau State Internal Revenue Service is that we have to create a department, we call it Taxpayer Services and Education Department. Now this department is in the form of trying to guide the taxpayer on how he should go about doing his things. Now the department had over the 1, 2, 3 years now, have rather 2 years now have been putting in place modalities of education. But there's something they brought to my attention. That's all these radio programs that we're doing, all these pamphlets we're selling, and all these town hall meetings we're doing does not really drive the process well. We need to go to the market and educate our taxpayers because a lot of them lack education. So there are two types of taxpayers. When we discover that we run into the street to try to do this thing at the street level, we discover that there are two types of taxpayers. We have willing taxpayers and unwilling taxpayers. So we realize that the more we engage with them at the street and telling them that we see without this, because I told them that we see revenue is like blood to the system, so revenue is a blood to government. So without revenue, government cannot function. So and we try to educate our street players. So one of the biggest streets we have in jobs, particularly for the informal sector, is Amelobello. We realize that by the time we hit Amelobello 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times in a week, we started the returns gets one higher, the compliance come up. Then we discover that people don't even know that they are supposed to do certain level of compliance with the tax revenue. So I am of the opinion that with some of these things, we must make it a social responsibility. not even as for the revenue service. That is, government at all subnational should introduce taxation, even from the primary school to the secondary school, so that people will now look at it as a sole responsibility. Like I said earlier, now you see, we have people that feel if I'm paying taxes, like you're fining me. And I know we all know that there's a difference between tax, fines, levies, fees. All of them are charges. They are completely different. So tax is one thing that is mandated at them. So for us, and that for us at the state revenue board, we have taken our tax education even to the street. And now what we're trying to do, we're trying to introduce the traditional rulers to now speak in the local dialect, so that people will now understand it. We always understand our first language. So we want to now have them in all the digital languages. And whenever Plateau State is a multilingual state, we have over 56 recorded languages. So these are some of the challenges now that we have. But however, we have a common language that virtually almost everybody understands. So that we have in that common language, we have in the broken language. Then we have some of the majority tribes telling you that, okay, this is how you do it, this is how you go about it. But recently we have engaged one of the Nollywood greatest producers to have them in kind of short films where it won't take too long, so that there are distractions, so that you understand those individual task components that we have. And the good news is that we also have agreed with our 17 local governments to handle only to collect on their behalf, because we have issues of multiple taxation between the states and the local government. So they agreed that, okay, we are going to collect it together from the center, then we give them back whatever is there. So I think that one will also help us in the tax education. So the local government chairmen are also championing the campaign for tax education at the local government level. These are some of the things.
A very brilliant innovation by your state internal revenue service, taking it to the grassroots and building the gap. More so, I can imagine having over 56 languages to deal with. You need the engagement of the traditional and the locals, because people have more confidence when they see their people who speak their languages, and also bridging the gap in terms of the social contract. They'll be able to see what their taxes are actually doing, synergizing with the government in making sure that the taxes are judiciously used. I want to ask this question. It was part of your landing thought while you are making commitment to my last question, that in Plateau State there seems to be a synergy between you and the local government authority in the collection of taxes, so that we can streamline. I want to ask, what are the challenges that you feel has actually bedeviled the Internal Revenue Service with harmonization of all these taxes within the subnational? Before we come to the local government, let me pick within the subnational by saying I do feel work in Plateau State. I'm being transferred to another state. I know that every of those states have my data as we had from other EEC. What do you think are the challenges this is posing, and what do you think is the best way of actually addressing that harmonization of taxes among the subnationals?
Okay, so let me start with the challenges that we have with harmonization. Now, you see, the very first problem of all the subnationals, putting all of them together, I'm talking about the CSR that sits and FCT, is that all of us have a unique tax administration. So it means we have, representing the country, we have 37 state internal revenue service, including the FCT. Now, for all of us, our major challenge is that all of us run as organizations, run as services, as a distinct association with the other. So we never have one handshake, we don't have anything in common. Yes, I agree, we know that taxations come from the exclusive lists in code, but however, the administration is being broken because of, let's say, autonomy of the states and let's say fiscal federalism as it were. Now, there is complete lack of uniformity, even in administration. So the way I carry out my taxes, functions, and jobs is completely different from the way the tax administration is done in Lagos. Remember, taxation is on 3 pillar policies: the law, the administration, and the policy. Now we have the law, maybe from the center, and the state also have some right to create some certain laws. in taxation. So we have them even in diverse. I'll give you instances. Lagos don't have consumption tax aside from the VAT that we have. So you see, so they have some kind of, even though some of these things are challenged in court. But so you see, we have problems of first administration. We also have problems of policy. So you see, what could just be a normal policy in my state cannot even work in Lagos. So let me give you an instance. Like in just the development areas are low as 5,000. Probably in Lagos, it may be higher than 5,000. So you see, so even in terms of tax administration and tax component, the fundings are completely different. And sometimes some few weeks ago, we are at the joint task force meeting, and people from Bombay said that a high net worth individual is someone who earns up to 150,000. But you see, in Lagos, it's another jurisdiction. A high net worth individual is someone who has a turnover of over 25 million. So you see, so jurisdictions differs, so the tax administration differs. Then again, we have each of us have our tax quota separately from each other, and none of them have a handshake. So you see, so in terms of technology infrastructure, there's also a challenge. So now I talked about the administration, I talked about the policy. So now I'm talking about the infrastructure. So in terms of infrastructure, it's also completely different. Then you can have some states 100% automated. So let me use Lagos again. In Lagos, you have what we call the e-tax filing. If you come from the states, with some states across the country, they don't even have e-tax filing. So these are completely issues affecting harmonization. But the good news is that I have the opinion, and I believe that the new tax reform, particularly I'm talking about the tax administration bill. Now the tax administration bill is so unique in the sense that it's giving us a uniform way of doing things, uniform way of policy, uniform way of administration. So what it literally means is that even, in fact, to the point that even the qualification of the chairman, who is supposed to be the chairman of the revenue service, is even enshrined in that law. So I think this is a way forward, because this time around we are being a little bit deliberate to see that the different tax administration speak as one entity. Then the good news again, FRS is trying to, joint task force and FRS are trying to see how we are going to have easy of exchange of information. This one will be dated the bill that is coming up on board. And I think this will also be a very good source, particularly for some of us that are not privileged to see some of this information likely from other subnational can now see and do things differently. So these are some of the challenges. But again, like I said, the good news is that the tax bill, particularly the four of the bills, and one of the bills is only talking about the tax administration. And I think we should support it from all subnational. So now, probably if we move forward with this new tax bill, we are going to have a unified identity. It probably presently now we know like the national identity card number or the number we have, the name. Then again, for companies, we can use their RC numbers or their business name numbers or however the nomenclature they call it. Then again, not only for us to have that identity, that we should be able to see what the other tax revenue agencies have assessed. You know, one of the problems with subnational is that we are talking about taxing people that is based on principal place of residence. It means where you are staying is where you be taxed. I know in one of the debates that we had, is that somebody asked, okay, what about somebody who earns in Lagos and spends in Osun State? Would you say that why can't the money earned in Lagos be paid in some part of the tax in Lagos instead of taking it to Ogun? You understand? So they are now trying to redefine the residency theory. But these are some of the things that face all of us. Even in Abuja here, you can have staff coming from National State, particularly from Maraba, Nyanya, and Kano, coming to Abuja to work. We earn the salary in that city, but they stay in Nasarawa State or they stay in Niger State. So these are some of the debates that I know might have. But for some of us that share partner with people that don't have interim workers, we don't see it as a challenge. We don't see it as a problem. But however, these are future problems that we need to also discuss.
We thank you very much, Dr. Wiles. If you're just joining us, we have the guest for today, which is the last special edition for the month of January, as approved by our President and the Governing Council, the Executive Chairman of Plateau State Internal Revenue Service, Dr. Jim Pam Wiles, FCTI, and he's been discussing with us the annual tax filing return with subnational, the compliance and the associated benefit using Plateau State Internal Revenue Service as a case study. Dr. Wise, while we discussing the other time, we spoke about enforcement, and you came from two perspectives while you are addressing the issue of your automation, that we need to first come with the human face, knowing fully well that we have the willing payers and those that are not willing. I want to ask, how does the Plateau State Internal Revenue Service balance its enforcement with taxpayers' support initiative to maintain good relationship with the business community?
Okay, so thank you very much. So for us at the State Internal Revenue Service, one of the key players is that we know there's hardship in the land. We know that people are passing through difficulty. So, like I always like this favorite quote by Tyler, which says that don't tax the seed, tax the profit. So we also know that we have a lot of upcoming small and medium scale businesses. Now let me give you instances. Even with annual tax return for corporations or for employers, once you do not submit return, there's a penalty that follows of 500,000 based on PITA. Then for individuals, it's 50,000. For us, we don't mandate you to pay that amount. We give you that grace period. But the idea is that we also want to have more people on the tax net, not to fear people with stringent punishment. So what we do, as a taxpayer December is going to be, rather as a taxpayer's market tomorrow for the corporations that we've not seen, we write them a love letter. It is 31st December that we have not seen your annual tax return. Please can you file it within the next 7 days, so that we won't take the arm of the law into your hand possession. This particular section 45 of Peter says that if you have failed to file what if we charge you 500,000, but we don't want to collect it now, we want to just file. Now, and we realize that, as a last thing when we tried that, we realized that taxpayers looked at things differently. They were like, these people are even encouraging us to come and submit returns. Let's charge for it. So we have one of the highest compliance levels last year. And I discovered that the coercion method of forcing people to pay sometimes does not work. Sometimes you need to encourage them, because I think one of the lectures I told them that last year we have discovered that you have made or remitted the payee sum of, let's say, 5 million. And we are hoping that we are going to do more better this year, because we believe that your pay status have increased. We are by a step level or something, so we expect more from you. So they feel kind of encouraged. And most of them turn out to come and pay. Now again, we need to also rather enforce on the other side. Now, you know, the law also have a kind of room for how many letters you're supposed to write. First letter you write for at least 30 days, second letter 7 days, like that. So you see, what we do at the state level, we need to have all our letters to have all proof of notice according to the lawyer. So that by the time, if you are that kind of stubborn taxpayers, then we will now go, if we are going to court, we know that we are going to court after exhausting all grounds of reconciliation. So I believe that this kind of approach is better in tax dealing than all this commercial nation of so for us, the court is always our last resource. Then again, that's something we have also introduced. We have introduced that if we have a backlog of your taxes, come and be paying us in this way. But make sure that there will be faithful and diligence in that remittance. And we have a lot of companies like that in Jos, that some of them had their own issues. Probably, I'll give you an instance. One company has one of the complete plant burned down, so they are thinking of downsizing. We told them that no, we don't need to do this downsizing, we know you are going to build up the file. So those workers that work in that factory, you can exempt them from their pay. And the reason is that, so that it will encourage you to do business. So you see, so there's a human face. Then again, you know, every Friday attracts some kind of bonus or some kind of benefit based on the tax law that will give you 1%. Now, I have told them that this is something that we have never done. But this year we promise ourselves that for those that have filed early, they are going to get 1% bonus from the state.
Enjoy the incentive. That's a brilliant way, sir, and I love your submission in the aspect of saying the human face actually being put across to have the commitment of the citizen in doing what is needful. And it's been working in Plateau State, because I know that you are rated among some of the performing states. I'll take this last question before I come to our participants to have their questions and contribution. And it has to do with the communique that was issued out, I think, 2 weeks ago when all of you were summoned to Abuja to meet with Mr. President on the Nigerian Governors Forum, where they came up with the sharing formula. You know, as we speak, I'll tell the individual that we have about 3 sharing formula. The one that we're using before that has to do with 50, 20, 30. That's 50 on equity, 30 on population and derivation. And the Fiscal Policy Committee came up with 60, 20, 20 to say 60 on derivation, 20 on population, and 20 for equity. But the Nigerian Governors Forum came up with the advent of saying we are approaching 50% for equity, 30% for derivation, and 20% for population. On your personal ground, because I know how sensitive this is, which line of thought do you think is the best in this sharing formula for the revenue that is being generated via the VAT, knowing fully well that you have your stake with the Federal Land Revenue Service, who are the major collector of this fund?
All right, so thank you very much. So that got me there of my personal opinion. Well, so you see, the principle of taxation requires equity, fairness. You understand? And I believe that, I remember, like for me that came from Jos, my people from Jos will tell that the 10 pillar bridge in Lagos was built by the tin and columbine that was found, or rather was mined in Jos. So at that time, there was nothing like innovation, there was nothing, so we see ourselves as a one country, because if the bridge is in Lagos, it's in Nigeria. Now, you see, so the truth is, I'm of the opinion that the debate on the issue of derivation will cause a lot of harm to this country for me at this moment. More especially now that things are very difficult. And one of the conversations I had with some of my colleagues at the state revenue boards was that I was telling them, you see, if we talked about this derivative in the manner that the proposed bill has, very soon we will discover that oil producing state will come and say that the 13% derivative is too small. Because you can't move from 60 derivatives, from 20 derivative to 60 derivative. Because so it will cause a bit of issue. And I was shocked yesterday when the South governors came out from their meeting, and one of the key points of their discussion or their communique is that the president, in the light of the new reform bill, should look at the derivative on the oil and gas producing states. So you see, these are some of the debates that it will always come up. But the truth is, again, the derivative for me is also good because it helps in productivity. But my first problem is the fact that the derivative that we are practicing even present in Nigeria is one-sided in the sense that we use what we call the headquarter effect. Now, it means that even company is in Jos, but the consumption of the services is done in Lagos. The part, not the headquarters of the company is in Jos, is being paid in Jos. These are sort of the big. So the question I have asked that have we put the mechanism on the ground to make sure that taxes are paid, particularly VAT, are paid from where the consumption happens. Now you see why we are having serious issues even the governors bring out their proposal. If you see what is happening at VAT, the certificate allocations for most of the states is in minus. The only thing that is sustaining the country as I speak to you now is the VAT. So you see, if the VAT will be lopsided to the layer of production, see what we're going to. So I think from the position of the governors forum, I was there at the governors forum, I think they look at the country now as a vacation and say that, okay, let's think as Nigerians. We cannot circumvent another state because the state is of less privilege. A less privileged state today may be a more privileged state tomorrow. And so I think the position of the Nigerian government is not far from where it was before. Because it was 50, 30, 20 as it were, but this time around there's a swap between population
and derivation.
Which I think is also a step in the right direction. And also an encouragement for states that produce more of those things, the consumption of more of these things, of the valuable goods, should be encouraged by additional 10%. After all, the federal government have ceded 5% to the states, and the local government still remains the same. So we don't even, so you see, the local government have not even started shouting. So it's between the states now that they have
and the federal government.
5%. So these are some of the things. But I think it's fair to the country as Nigeria at this moment in time.
Thank you very much for that, your personal submission on the issue. We want to believe that in no distance time, the tax bill will definitely, all the issues surrounding it will have a common ground and have a position. I want to especially appreciate all our members who have been part of the program right from the second Thursday of this month, and this is the last edition for this month before we go back to our normal monthly program. I have this to say because I can see a lot of program organization members that this is a platform for you to patronize your products as it may be. And we sought your sponsorship of the program, possibly to even extend the hour of commitment. I'm very sure that I will get the commitment of my EC here by God's grace. We've had that of Lagos State Internal Revenue to sponsor this program. Also, my brother from Kano, Dr. Saad, has actually given a commitment to sponsor this program. And I want to believe that Plateau State will join the welcome, because we need to educate our members. We need to educate the populace on some of the happenings, and this is the platform of making that happening. So you will get the same way you share love letter to the citizen, you will get my love letter too, sir, as a sponsor of this program. And I trust the way you've been doing, you will definitely provide support. And to all our professionals, is a platform for us to educate and enlighten our members. So without wasting much of our time, I want to open the platform for members to ask questions relating to our topic of discuss, having the executive chairman of Plateau State Internal Revenue Service. Kindly do that by signifying, raising up your hands electronically. Please raise up your hand electronically, or you drop you are a very shy person like the anchor, you can drop your question in the chat box and definitely be sure that I'll pick it up. Let me see, is there anybody raising up their hands? Technical, please raise up the beats. Let's see if you have anyone. You have the platform to open the question. I know we've actually dealt with this, but I know a lot of people might actually be relating from the Plateau State. Maybe you have one or two challenges or area of improvement on the part of the Internal Revenue Service. I have, is that Olufemi? Okay, Olufumilola. Can you please unmute and ask your question or your contribution? You are live.
Sir. Thank you so much for this platform. And thanks to consultant from Plateau State. We are very grateful, sir. So my question is concerning the WHT. Based on the new tax reform, as per individual that is being charged WHT, please, what's the current percentage to be used for the individual as a new tax reform? Or we should still be working with the old tax rates for WHT? Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. You can lower your hand. Sir, if you permit me, if I have more other questions, let's welcome you so that you do justice to it. I believe you hear the question, sir.
Yes, I do.
Okay. Do we have any other question from any other one on the platform? I can read from the platform. Everybody is actually alluding to a brilliant submission by our executive chairman in terms of topic of discuss. What's that name, please? Okay, Amajemi, can you please unmute? Pardon me if I murdered the name. You can introduce yourself much more better. Unmute yourself, sir.
Thank you very much. My name is Emmanuel. The icon you see there is not my username for the company, right? So I'm using the company profile to have this section. I thank you for the program, also for the speaker, for bringing us to light for some of the task processes for Plateau State. It's quite insightful. I don't have much to say, but I looked at it, how can we get the recorded video section and also for this, right? I don't record in Nigeria. Here I fail, so I don't have been part of so many of the training, but I'm not using the recorded video. How would I get that?
Okay, thank you very much, Emmanuel. Maybe before I give the floor to my executive chairman, let me just state to everybody the question being raised by Emmanuel. We have our YouTube channel for the Institute. You can definitely go to the YouTube, type CITN, and you have all the previous edition of some of the programs that we've had on CITN taxation and yield. Last year was very educative, very insightful in terms of the aspect of the practitioner, the professionals, the administrator, the academicians. They all came on board to give perspective on different topics for taxation. In it is what we have heard today on the part of our executive chairman making submission that taxation should even be introduced as a subject right from the cradle for primary school. So let's take the second question by EC, then I will give you the floor to respond. Olawoyin, can you unmute and ask your question, please?
Good morning, sir. Good morning, Bial. My name is Olawoyin Olatunde. I'm calling from Lagos State. This is what I have noticed of recent, that on the issue of getting the criteria for getting TCC, tax clearance certificate for individual, and when the taxpayer come to tax firm or approach consultant, probably they must have made consultation in other states, and they continue to say the rate or the charges or the criteria for getting it in Lagos is on high side. Yeah. What my question is that what is the institute or joint tax board doing to equate the balance so that people can still stay in their respective state or maintain? So I've seen people living in Lagos and they prefer to go to far north to get it. So everybody there, aside from the TCC, they are living in Lagos and they are still claiming other states at their place of residence. That has to do with the place of residence. What is the institute or the joint tax board helping us to do concerning this matter? Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much. I'm sure we are speaking from the perspective of harmonization. Technical, can you please pin my guests so that they can be by our side and our members can always have his view. Our guest, the executive chairman, Dr. Wise, can you please respond to some of these questions raised by our members?
Okay, so thank you very much. Fumi had comments about withholding tax. Now you see, a law is still in the embryo, is not yet a law. So it means that until the day that that law has been ascended into power by His Excellency, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, then that means that law becomes a law, it becomes an act. But what we have presently is still a bill, so it's not an act of National Assembly, it cannot be practiced. But again, there are a lot of changes in some of the withholding tax rates in the new bill. And those changes, some were lower, some were increased, some were even introduced for the first time. Let me give you an instance. That some winnings from bettings and other things have never been in any of our laws. But right now, the new tax bill have enshrined that you must pay withholding tax on such winnings. So for withholding tax, of course, we all know that withholding tax is an advance payment of taxes. You come and relieve you from the time you are making your pay for individuals. So for companies out of the Federal Revenue Service, it's also at the peg. But again, even that one too, some have been touched, some have been left the way they are. But for now, since there is the Act of National Assembly have not passed, the law will still maintain the old rate, so the old rate still suffice. And the man, I guess, the consultant from Lagos talks about tax grant certificate. You see, one of the things that the new bill tried to talk about, like the tariff, let me call it tariff, that the Tax Administration Act, so let's call it bill, it's not an act, is that there will be harmonization from all the subnationals. So it means our processes will be the same, rates will be the same. But you see, there's another problem that I also want you to understand. The purchasing power of people in Lagos is different from the purchasing power for people in Jos, in Jigawa, or somewhere far north, even in some of the states in the south. And the reason is that I talked about, even if I use a high network individual, HNI, I said that Lagos police looked at people that have 25 million and above for high network. And I gave instance in the state that looked at even 150, not even 1 million as high network. So see, there's peculiarity. And you see, even the processes of getting tax thing, it requires you to pay your development levy. I talked about it. The law only just permit, I think, about 500 or 1,000 as it were. But then some states increase theirs to as high as 5,000, 10,000 depending on the state. So you can't tell that state to do that. And you know, some are accurate. What are the development of this? What are the development collected and where are they being put in practice? So these are some of the small nitty-gritties that we really need to work on. But I feel very strongly that the new law will even point the issue of residency for us in the sense that we can literally know where you are staying. Even from your telephone conversations every day, we can know exactly whether you are staying in Lagos, not in Kano. So you see, and again, it will also make us of national revenue services to also do what we call due diligence and background check. Because you can't just come and award a tax grant certificate to someone who is not resident in your state. So these are some of the things. Then again, if we have a unified identifier, you could even see where he makes his registration, where his address is, because from residence story up to now. So these are some of the things that the law is going to help us do. And the truth is, harmonization will take out some of these issues that we're having, particularly from some of the taxpayers that feel Lagos is so exorbitant. Let's move up north, or let's move down south, or south, or however. So this will also help.
Thank you very much for responding to that question. Before I welcome Kenneth, because our time is far spent, I want to respond to Princess Abila. I'm sure you are joining this program this month for the first time. We have reiterated this, that the two classes of annual filing, the one for corporate and individual. The one for corporate terminates tomorrow. And failure to comply attract a penalty as stated in the Constitution of 500,000. So please, between today and tomorrow, let your organization respond to that. And for individual, and you have to use your Form H1 as all our guest speakers has spoken to this. Let me take these two questions before, but let me welcome Kenneth. Kenneth, can you unmute and then let's have your question before I combine the two questions for our speaker. Kenneth, unmute and speak, please.
All right, good day, everybody.
Thank you very much.
First of all, let me appreciate the guest speaker. You have really done a nice job helping us to have a better understanding of some of these issues as it touches tax administration and other issues relating to tax. I just have a question concerning the filing, the tax filing, especially this one that is ending tomorrow. If, for instance, as I am probably filing now, but my documents are not complete from January to December. Maybe I just have a document from January to, say, November, and December is not ready. Is it possible that I can file the documents I have currently? And if yes, is there a window to complete the filing probably after the entire closure taking place? That's actually my question.
Okay, thank you very much. Dr. Wallace, I believe you heard that question.
Yeah. Yes, I did.
Your response, sir.
All right, so thank you, Mr. Kenneth. I think you are a true Nigerian that speak based on reality. Now, you see, why I said so is that we, even in the tax authority, know that there's some organizations that still owing salaries up to 3 months because of the economic hardship and the economic reality. So any sane person will even submit what he has first, then to complete everything later. But one thing I also want you to know, if you are filing for payee, you always have a projection. You can file and tell them the projection that you have from January to this time and submit. Yes, the tax authority will require you to give them additional information. But the bottom line is that you make your statutory requirement by filing before the due date, so that at least they won't charge you 500,000 naira. Now you see, Peter is clear that's 500, but we are not after the 500. All we are after is that we want people to be tax compliant. And we also go to the same market with you, we know the hardship. So yes, you can find him, and again, if you find him, tell them that as soon as additional information are available, you will submit to the tax authority. The tax authorities are people like you and I that also have human face. They will listen to you, and they will also even guide you on how to do it subsequently. There's always a window to do that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. On the final note, before I get your parting shot, Bejide is asking that in calculating the PIT, are we using the new rates? Because the debate is still on the new bill. That is the tax reform. What's your submission on that?
Okay, so one of the things that come out from the Nigerian Governors Forum is that there is ill timing to increase the VAT rate. That they said is categorically clear in their communique. So, but then it's not in the position of the governors now to say that this is cast in stone. But however, since the tax authority, since the law had not been passed, it still remains at 7.5%, like I said. Because the projection of the bill was that, particularly in terms of VAT rates, that it will increase by January by this year to 10%, 2026 or 7 or 9 to about 15%, 12.5 to about 15%. I think they want to take it to as high as 15%. But for now, the debate for the increase, I think, is a little bit low. I don't know, but I don't know if the debate is still in the National Assembly. So, but the rate still remains the same.
Okay.
It's unchanged because, like I said, the law, the bill is a bill, it's not yet a law. So it's not an act of National Assembly.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. It's been a wonderful time having you in our midst today. In 30 seconds, can we have your parting shot, knowing fully well, as I have said, you'll receive my love letter very soon.
Okay, so I'll be expecting the love letter. So for me, digitization is a serious business, and no country can grow beyond what it's collecting. So the higher the revenue, so Nigerian tax to GDP is about 11%. But we are seeing that we are deliberate this time around as a country to make sure that our tax revenue grow. So my first concern, our first prayer for every Nigerian is that look at tax payments as an obligation, as a compulsory thing that you are supposed to do. Not look at it as a punishment or as a maybe or as a fight. It's a compulsory act. In fact, it's enshrined in our constitution. But by and large, let's help to contribute to the growth of Nigeria by paying our taxes to develop Nigeria. Thank you from all of us here from the Plateau State Jos Capital. We say thank you for having us to share our thoughts and experiences with you. And we thank you, CITN. We always support what is happening at CITN for every reason. I think I have the highest number of CITN for nationals. 1/10 of my staff are CITN members. So I have no reason to support them and make sure
I can always say of the great support that you provide to the Institute, and we know more of it will continue, the commitment of your people from Jos. I have a lot of them as my friend. Thank you very much, sir, for having us here. You've earned it. Take tax as an obligation and not a punishment, as mentioned by Dr. Wyatt before. On this note, we have come to the end of the special edition that was granted by the President and the Governing Council of our Institute. Until we come your way, first Thursday in the month of February, I remain your host, Olusegun Okwade, FCTI Please stay tuned as you join us next week Thursday for the February edition. On that note, I say bye for now.